A quarantine cruise ship off the coast of Japan has returned to land following concerns about the spread of the coronavirus on board.
But while hundreds of passengers who tested negative for the virus aboard the Diamond Princess cruise are back on solid ground, over 600 infected passengers are staying on board that ship.
That's right. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., more than 300 Americans are also undergoing quarantine after being evacuated. What was supposed to be a fun vacation for most turned into a travel nightmare. The question now is, can the cruise industry bounce back?
Here to discuss is Melanie Lieberman, travel editor at The Points Guy. Melanie, so great to have you back with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So, Melanie, as we mentioned, a lot of people are just terrified of going on a cruise. Some are requesting refunds. Some are just canceling their upcoming trips altogether. How does the cruise industry survive this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, as you mentioned, people are very concerned right now. I still think, as this is a developing story, it's a little too soon to say for sure how severe the long-term ramifications might be. But to your point, people are canceling cruises, bookings are down, especially in Asia, but we're starting to see effects across the board in other regions as well. So it's certainly not out of the question that the cruise industry is going to bounce back, but I think it's going to take some time before we realize just how long it will take before we see people cruising in Asia again. We've seen Norwegian Cruise Line cancel cruises as far out as December. Virtually all of their sailings through the end of the year are canceled. Other lines are following suit. So the ramifications are certainly significant, though the extent is still a bit unknown.
Right. As we talked about before, the last time you were here, the layout of this just seems already problematic. You have thousands of people in this enclosed space, but how would the layout and activities on a cruise ship contribute to the spread of this virus?
Yeah, I think there are two important things to keep in mind here. For one, to your point, you had nearly 4,000 passengers on board the Diamond Princess, and this is hardly the largest ship at sea. Anytime you have people congregating in mass like that, in a confined space, eating together, sleeping in close quarters, spending a lot of time in high-touch areas like a buffet or a casino, it's going to contribute to the spread of a virus if there is an outbreak. But the other thing to keep in mind for travelers is that the cruise industry is the most proactive about reporting. They're the only industry that has to report any instance of a gastrointestinal illness. So if there is even 2% outbreak on board a ship, no matter whether it's coronavirus, norovirus, that has to be reported to the CDC, and you'll hear reports about that. So I do think that also contributes to the perception that cruises are more likely to spread illnesses because you just don't have that kind of reporting in a hotel or a school or your office even.
Well, to your point, should travelers be concerned going on a cruise ship?
I think travelers need to be extremely mindful right now that there is just a lot of questions about cruising. Again, the largest impact has been cruising in Asia. We're not seeing any sort of major concerns about cruises elsewhere in other regions, such as the Caribbean or Europe, which are much bigger markets for North American travelers. But travelers need to be empowered to take action into their own hands. If they are concerned, their well-being and their peace of mind is the most important thing. So even though travelers should be empowered to wait to see if a cruise line cancels a sailing, they should also consider calling up, asking if the cruise line will consider reimbursing them or perhaps giving them a voucher for a future cruise. There are certainly a lot of changes in the industry right now, and it's just, I think, a lot of opportunities for travelers to be aware and pay attention.
Right. You mentioned vouchers. Is there anything else that these ships can do to prevent disease?
To prevent disease, they're very proactive about providing hand sanitizer. There are incredibly strict policies in effect if there is any sort of viral reporting. So travelers should at least have peace of mind that cruise ships are very, very concerned about safety. Cruise lines take health at top of mind, and there are a lot of procedures in place that will mitigate any spread if there is an outbreak on the ship.
Great tips. Melanie Lieberman, travel editor at The Points Guy. Thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you for having me.